Very simply, but not always easy to integrate. How to reinvent yourself. How to reinvent yourself. That's our goal, to reinvent ourselves, right? Now, I know we're entering into the month of December. And typically, what happens is in the month of January, many people come up with New Year's resolutions, new goals, and new outcomes that they're aiming to create and experience, new success that they want to manifest in their life. And what we have to understand is this: before we even enter into 2025, there's prerequisites that need to be met for us to create personal transformations, for us to experience new levels of success. You guys hear me time and time again on many of these conversations during these streams that old keys are never going to be able to open up new doors. You can't gain access to the new while simultaneously holding on to the old, because every new level in your life will always require a greater version of you. In other words, you can't become what you want while remaining what it is that you are. So as it relates to our conversation today, I want to break down some things that we could begin to do that will assist us in reinventing how we show up, who we are, what we represent, and ultimately the lives that we lead. Now, it's important for us to understand that when it comes to us reinventing ourselves, family, it's not always what we don't know that's holding us back. In fact, what often holds us back is what we think we know, but just isn't true. I'm a huge advocate for learning new things. We talk about it on all of these broadcasts: learn new skills, learn new ways of thinking, right? Learn new crafts and techniques and different practices that you can integrate into your day-to-day life that will create better outcomes and successful results. Again, I'm a huge advocate for learning new things. But what often creates a massive shift in our lives is not us learning new things, but instead is us unlearning those things that are stunning our growth and preventing us from making progress. But one of the biggest challenges as it relates to us unlearning things is that many of the things that we've grown accustomed to, that we have historically been familiar with and comfortable with, are operating on a subconscious level, on an unconscious level. We're not even aware of these things. We have limiting beliefs. For many of us, we may have self-sabotaging habits that are operating on an unconscious level. And this is where they gain their power to influence us, because we're not even aware of how we're showing up. So today, I want to break down 4 things that's going to help us build awareness around how we're showing up, and also help us take steps to reinvent who we are. I'm talking about shifting your identity. In fact, everybody comment below that statement: shift your identity. Because again, old keys are never going to be able to open up new doors. You can't get what it is that you want while remaining what it is that you are. And again, every new level in your life is always going to require a greater version of you. So if you're entering into this conversation with me, what I'm hoping you're making the commitment to do is to break the habit of being who you used to be. Yeah, let that sink in for a quick second, family. Like, the old you cannot gain access to the new vision that you've established for your life. The old patterns that you put in place, they're not going to be able to assist you in reaching that new height, that new level of success, that new victory, that breakthrough that you're aiming to experience in your life. We got to disrupt the old to build the new. So let's break down again 4 things that we could begin to do. I put number 1 on before. I'm diving into number 1. But 4 things that we could begin to do that will help us reinvent how we show up. Number 1 is this, family. Everybody comment below. Use the power of self-assessment. Again, use the power of self-assessment. There's a quote from Socrates where he once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The person that never sits down and evaluates how they're showing up and begins to look at their behavior patterns, their beliefs, and ultimately the things that they do on the day-to-day, they're not going to be able to gain access to new levels of living. What we have to learn to do, family, is this: pay attention to your beliefs, your patterns, and your habits, right? You don't have to see the world the same way that you've already seen it, right? Because it was true in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's true today. Because you learned something one way does not necessarily mean that you learned it the best way. Here's what extraordinary leaders do. What extraordinary leaders do, family, is ultimately they begin to question their beliefs and their approaches when they find themselves out of alignment with the results that they're aiming to experience. Meaning, if they have a desire in their heart to experience more out of life, but they keep hitting this wall, they're being frustrated, they're being discouraged because they're being rejected from opportunities and not getting the results that they want, they start to question, what are the beliefs that are holding me back, that I'm holding on to? What habits do I have in place that are stunning my growth and preventing me from making progress? Because here's the truth of the matter, family. No matter who you are, no matter what it looks like, no matter where you've come from, no matter what your upbringing was, no matter what neighborhood you grew up in, no matter the color of your skin, no matter what odds you have stacked against you, family, the only limits that you have, the only thing that's confining you, are the limits that you have within your own mind. The beliefs that you've established, the beliefs that you've created. This is the only thing that's really holding you back from experiencing the life of brand new possibilities. So what we have to learn to do, family, if we're aiming to level up, is to sit down and begin to ask ourselves, why do I show up to life in the way that I show up? Get very detailed. Why do you eat the foods that you consume? Why do you wake up at the time that you wake up at, right? Why do you go to sleep at a certain time? Why do you surround yourself with certain people? Why do you engage in certain activities? Why do you do certain things? Why do you consume certain media? Start to investigate, ultimately, how you're showing up and the things that are influencing your day-to-day decisions, and get to the core root of it. Because what this is going to lead us to is ultimately the belief system that we have. And I love this quote from Tony Robbins, where he once said, "Changing our belief system is central to making any real and lasting changes in our lives." This is largely what's influencing how you're showing up. But in many cases, you'll never be able to identify what you're believing until you begin to use the power of self-assessment. And you start asking those uncomfortable questions. You start investigating what's happening within, right? You take an objective view at your subjective experience. And what we have to learn to do is this, family. This may be easy to say, but challenging to integrate. Don't allow yesterday's beliefs to dictate the story that you live out today. Because for so many of us, right, historically, you believe that you can't gain access to certain things. Historically, you have yourself convinced in your mind that you can't achieve certain things, that you don't deserve certain things, that you're not worthy of certain things. And what we have to do is dismantle that limited belief system and take the power that we truly have to create the belief system that supports the vision and the purpose and the goals that we have for our lives. Before I transition into the next one, I'll give you this one for free, okay? Here's what I want us to do. As we're approaching new experiences and new levels of success, start to adopt beliefs that help you stay empowered. As I mentioned, Tony Robbins talked about one thing that leads to lasting change is you adjusting your belief system in ways that support your vision, your purpose, and your goals. Here's 3 beliefs that I encourage you to start adopting. Belief number 1, believe that you can change. Stop operating with that fixed mindset. Stop assuming that where you are is where you're going to remain. Don't be convinced that historically, since nobody in your family has never done it, you can't gain access to it. Don't look at your bank account. Don't look at your current salary and say, I can never earn X amount of dollars because historically I've never been there. No, I want you to dismantle that belief system and believe that you can change. You have within you the ability to initiate positive changes in your life. The number 2 is this: believe that you are capable. Believe that you have what it takes, and it takes what you've got. Believe that you're skilled and gifted and talented, and you carry something unique to offer to the world that is valuable. Believe that you are capable. The number 3 And this is something that so many of us struggle with on a subconscious level. Believe that you deserve it and that you're worthy of it. So many of us spend so much of our time and energy trying to convince others that we're enough, lacking the belief that we are enough, robbed of greater opportunities because we're boxed in by this belief that we're not enough. But today I encourage you to adopt the belief that you are worthy, and yes, you do deserve it. You've been through some things. You've made some mistakes. You've hit rock bottom in certain situations. There's been people that don't believe in you, but it's time for you to start believing in yourself. Believe that you are worthy and that you do deserve it. Again, number one, that's going to help us reinvent how we show up is to use the power of self-assessment. Number two is this. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, say, D1, I'm with you. Then we'll move on to number two. Say, D1, I'm with you in the comments below. Man, I wish we had time to break this one down, y'all. Excellent. I see him popping up. Larry, I see you in the building. Blessed for free gems. Absolutely, brother. That's what we're here for. Bobby, the unexamined life is not worth living. I like that, Larry. Leaves will fall doesn't mean the tree dies. Excellent, excellent. There we go. Number two is this, family. Comment below. Be consistent in training your mind. Again, the topic of discussion, in case you missed it, we're talking about reinventing ourselves, revolutionizing how we show up. Not only is it important for us to become aware of what we're believing and the habits that we have integrated into our day-to-day life that may be stunting our growth, but it's very important that we begin to train our mind and be consistent with it, family. Here's why we must do this. What you focus on the most in your mind will eventually grow in your life. In other words, let me put it to you this way. If you keep revisiting familiar thoughts and feelings, all you're going to do is keep creating the same reality. Now, follow along with me, family, as we break this down. Ultimately, if what you think is going to shape your reality, what happens is this. If I'm thinking equivalent to my current circumstances, those circumstances will create the same emotions. Ultimately, those emotions will dictate how I feel. So in essence, all I'm doing is creating a cycle that's perpetuating the same outcomes. Because if my circumstances are dictating what I think, and ultimately those circumstances are creating the same emotions, my thoughts will always be in alignment with what I'm currently feeling. And again, this is a perpetual cycle. So what we have to learn to do, family, is this. And this is something that's simple, but it's not always easy. Here's what we have to do. We have to learn to think greater than our current environment. And this is a challenge because it's easier for us to remember our past, to stay focused on our problems, to be consumed by our present predicament, than it is to visualize possibilities. But keep in mind, family, if my thoughts are dictating my circumstances, which create certain emotions, and those emotions often influence what I'm thinking, if I want to break that cycle, I have to think bigger than what I'm currently feeling. I've got to think bigger than where I'm currently am right now in the current phase of my life right now. This is why it's so very important, family, that you create a vision for yourself. Everybody comment below, write the vision and make it plain. Create a vision of your ideal self. Create a vision of what you can accomplish. Create a vision of what your life can look like. Because as you level up your thinking and you raise the frequency of your thoughts, what this does is it starts to stimulate new emotions. And those emotions can often influence your behavior. And as you begin to shift your behavior in ways that keep you in alignment with what it is that you're thinking about, you start to shift your environment. You start to create better outcomes and better results. And it starts with you mastering your mindset, right? And the struggle comes into play when it's hard to visualize yourself as a success when you're face to face with failure. It's hard to visualize yourself gaining the victory when you find yourself being rejected. It's hard to see yourself experiencing new levels of success when it often seems that you're underestimated and overlooked and underappreciated. But it's in those moments that you have to discipline yourself mentally and emotionally to keep telling yourself, yeah, this is going to happen. I see it. I'm going to be it. I'm going to become it. I'm going to create it. I'm going to build it. It doesn't matter what they think of me. I'm still going to execute on this goal and this dream. Doesn't matter how many times I've been told no. I just got to find my yes. This is the type of conversation that you got to have with yourself. You got to train your mind to be in alignment with what it is that you're aiming to experience. I think in so many ways, we underappreciate or we don't even acknowledge the power of our minds to be able to creating something first and foremost within our mind and then building it within our reality. There's the old quote that says you can do anything that you set your mind on. Doing it is not the hard part. It's keeping your mind set on it. That's the challenging part. Every day to stay locked in on what you want. Every day to stay in alignment on what you want to experience. Every day to keep your mind and your thoughts focused on what you're aiming to create. When everything around you is contradicting it, when everything around you is opposing it, when there's resistance trying to knock you off your path, you've got to train your mind to be in alignment with your goals. That's number 2. The number 3 is this. And number 3 is ultimately going to assist you in doing number 1 and number 2. Everybody comment below. Go places where people are growing. Again, go places where people are growing. You want to alter your environment. You want to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and are aiming to do something with life. As Bobby mentioned earlier, I want to stay surrounded with purpose-driven leaders, people that are doing something that's stretching their capabilities, people that are doing something to increase the contribution that they have towards humanity, people that are doing things that are assisting them in their growth and their development, and they're constantly improving because energy is contagious, right? The attitude and mindset of others has a way of influencing how we show up. The environments that you put yourself in can either reinforce your identity or they can deter you into adopting or conforming into something that's less than what you're aiming to experience in life. This is why you want to surround yourself with people that are going in the pace that you're aiming to go. I heard this quote the other day. I want to say it was Andrew Young, where he talked about when you go walking with something amazing happens on a subconscious level. Either you move at the pace at the person that you're walking with, you either slow down or you pick up the pace, depending upon what they're doing, right? If you're moving with a fast walker, typically in some cases, maybe you move fast or the fast walker is going to move slower like you. The question is, whose pace are you adjusting to? At what speed are you going? Depending upon the people that you're surrounding yourself with. If you're constantly surrounded with people that are complaining, that are always discouraging you, and trying to dissuade you from doing things that stretch your capabilities, then ultimately being in that environment is going to sabotage your growth and your progress. But if you're surrounded by people that are always talking about ideas instead of people, they're always talking about success instead of what's wrong in life, they're always talking about making a positive contribution and a positive impact in the lives of others rather than throwing shade on somebody else's parade. When you surround yourself with these types of individuals, a little bit of that inspiration begins to rub off on you. The strategies, the ideas, the insights, the perspectives that they have, you will start to adopt. You want to go where people are growing. That's number 3. Number 4, then we'll take it home, family. Most importantly, it's not enough for us to just change our beliefs, adjust the way that we think, and surround ourselves with like-minded individuals. But number 4, everybody comment below. We got to be about that action. We got to be about that action. Now, don't hear me wrong, okay? Again, it's important to adjust how we think, to think more positively, to think with a more empowered perspective. But ultimately, our goal is not just to think our way into acting differently. You know what's most effective? You acting your way into thinking differently. You putting yourself in spaces and in positions where you're taking action towards the goals that you have established for your life. where you're not just wishing for, but you're working for. And this is going to require you. Here's where the challenge comes into play, family. We're talking about reinventing yourself, stepping into the new, disrupting the old. The challenge comes into play because doing this will put you face to face with failure, face to face with rejection, face to face with processes that can often be discouraging. But what you have to learn to do in these moments is you have to give yourself permission to make a mistake. Everybody comment below that statement. In fact, I give myself permission to make a mistake. When I initially started speaking, I was not the best speaker, right? I would say things grammatically incorrect. I didn't pronounce my words correctly. But in some cases, family, I had to make up my mind. I'm not going to allow the fear of failure to be greater than the excitement that I have to win. So I have to raise my hand and say, you know what? I'm stepping into these opportunities, knowing that I'm going to make some mistakes, knowing that it's not going to be perfect, but I'm not focused on perfection. I'm focused on progress. If I can be better than who I was yesterday, that's growth. That's improvement. That's development. If I can be 1% better than the day before, if I can beat yesterday, then right there, I'm taking steps in the right direction. And for so many people, because they're overwhelmed by the fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, they never take that initial step. In fact, it's the start that stops most people because they're consumed by the fear of doing something wrong. But what we have to learn to do, family, if you're aiming to reinvent yourself, I don't know what it is, whether it's starting a business, launching a podcast, getting in the best physical shape of your life, becoming financially free, you're going to have to disrupt your old patterns. And that's going to require you to develop some new patterns. And the process of you developing new patterns means you may make some mistakes, but don't run away from them. In fact, I encourage you to embrace them because it's those mistakes, it's those failures that give you feedback. That feedback is valuable information that you can use to apply to yourself to make you better. So the next time you approach it, you're wiser, more skilled, more experienced, and you create better outcomes and better results. But you gotta be about that action to reach that stage. Family, we've talked about a lot of things during this conversation. I got pop-ups left and right coming on this screen. My apologies, y'all. But we talked about a lot of things during this conversation. Ultimately, there's three phases to personal transformation. Number one, you got to believe it. Number two, you have to associate yourself with it. You have to belong there, right? That's a mental shift that we have to make, knowing that you deserve it and you're worthy of it. Then number three is this, family. You got to become it. You got to become it. Again, you got to believe. You have to adjust your belief system to know this is possible for me. I can make this thing happen. Then you have to belong. I have to associate myself with it. I've got to engage with it. I've got to literally identify with it. Then number three, I've got to become it. Meaning you are what you consistently do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, it's a habit. Meaning the person that you're aiming to evolve into, when you start thinking, knowing, believing, behaving, and feeling like that person, it's at that stage that you're going to start making shifts in your life. So the call to action is this. I want you to evaluate how you're showing up. I want you to start monitoring your thoughts. I want you to assess, take an internal assessment and assess your environment and ask yourself, are these things supporting the life that I'm aiming to create for myself? And then lastly, be about that action. Before we even reach 2025, what are the adjustments that you need to make to create the life that you envision? Yeah, we're dreaming big. We want to do amazing things and create better outcomes and successful results in our life. But remember, family, old keys are not going to open up new doors. The Book of Life talks about you can't put new wine in old wineskins, right? You've got to make the necessary adjustments. In some cases, you may have to pivot. Or like we're talking about today, you may have to completely reinvent how you're showing up to create that life that you envision. But nonetheless, throughout it all, you've got to maintain the belief that you got what it takes to initiate positive changes in your life. So if you haven't heard anything or received anything out of this conversation, let me leave you with this. Every new level in your life is always going to require a greater version of you. What greater version of you are you avoiding, running away from, neglecting to step towards? What new levels are you apprehensive to enter into simply because you're holding on to the old? I challenge you, release the things that are not serving you. Step away from the things that are not supporting your growth. Remove yourself from the things that are hindering you from experiencing everything that you've been envisioning. Break the habit of being who you used to be and start a new habit of becoming who you truly were meant to be. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if in fact this is your first time, or maybe your first time in a long time, I welcome you and I want to shout you out as well. Put a number 1 in the chat and then your first name afterward. Again, put a number 1 in the chat and then your first name afterward. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere found some value from this conversation. If so, be sure to comment below with some fist in the chat. Let your boy D1 know you were picking up what I was putting down during this conversation. I'm hoping again that somebody benefited from this broadcast. Blessings to you as well, Beverly. Glad to have you tapped in live. Yes, Tanisha, I give myself permission to make a mistake. Give myself permission to make a mistake. Absolutely. It's a packed statement. It's easy to say, but often challenging to integrate, family. We're always overly consumed by what other people are going to think. What happens if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't look like this other person's? What if I don't measure up? Yeah, release those thoughts. Dismantle that belief system and step into the new. Releasing what no longer serves us. I heard that, Mia. Excellent. Got my beautiful and amazing wife tapped in. Great day to you, Angel. I see the fist coming up. Go places where people are growing. Talk that talk, Victoria. Family, if you found value in this conversation, please share this out with the people that you care about. If you're watching this on Facebook, share this right now as I speak. If you're watching this on X, retweet this. If you're on LinkedIn, be sure to tap in and share this with your professional network. And everybody watching this on YouTube, real quick, it doesn't cost you anything and it takes a millisecond to perform. Hit the like button. It goes a long way in the algorithm. And then please share this link out with 2 people that you personally know that could benefit from this conversation. What you can do is hit that link, copy it, paste it, DM it to somebody, text it to somebody, email it to somebody, write that thing down on a notepad, letter by letter, and hand that to somebody. Say, type this into your URL and tune into this conversation. However way you want to get it to them, make sure they get the link so they can tap into this conversation, family. If we've yet to connect on other social media platforms, what are we waiting for? Connect with your boy D1. I'm at D1 Gibson on Instagram, Facebook, as well as X. And then also on youtube.com/David Gibson. Be sure to tap into my YouTube channel. That's where all the long form content is available. I'm also on LinkedIn if you're on that platform. And for more information on my speaking and coaching services, be sure to connect with me at the website. That's at elevationisamust.com. And while you are there, be sure to tap into the online store where I have books that you can purchase, physical books, as well as ebooks that you can download, all designed to help you master your mindset and level up your life. Again, that's elevationisamust.com. With that being said, family, if you find yourself in a difficult situation or challenging experience, just remember that this too shall pass. What we don't want to do is this. Don't you make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary circumstance or a temporary feeling. I want you to keep your vision top of mind. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging. Maybe your back is currently up against the wall. Maybe you have hit rock bottom. But that's a perfect place to build a new foundation. Don't give up on your goals. Don't give up on your dreams. Most importantly, don't you give up on yourself. You got greatness on the inside of you. You've got power at work within you. It's time for you to start stepping into that greatness. It's time for you to start leveraging that power If you got tears rolling down your face, you can still be powerful. If you got no's yesterday and you got rejected yesterday, you can still find your yes today. If nobody else believes in you and people are saying you're crazy and you're out of your mind, you be crazy towards success and keep moving towards that vision by any means necessary. There's no stopping point short of success for us. It's like Les Brown said, it's not over until I win. In fact, comment below that statement. It's not over until I win, until I get the victory, until I change my life, until I get the results that I've been working towards. It's not over until I win. That's the mindset that we're going to have this week, family. If nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, your brother from another mother, D1 Gibson, has nothing but love for each and every single one of you. Again, I thank you each for tapping into this conversation, joining in on this broadcast. I'm hoping that we did receive some value from this session. Again, it's not too late for you to share this out with the people that you do care about. But in the meantime, we're going to go and conclude this broadcast. Even though we feel inspired and we feel empowered, what I want you to do is double down on this feeling. And again, be about that action. Let's take the steps to reinvent ourselves, to show up more effectively so we can create better outcomes and better results. And most importantly, impact the lives of others that we're connected with. As we do conclude and wrap things up, I want you to be effective, be successful, live with some passion this week, and most importantly, 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. I want you to be powerful in every sense of the word. Move with conviction. Don't accept no for an answer when you're looking for a yes. Stay determined and refuse to fail. Go get every blessing that has your name on it. We'll be back at it next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But in the meantime, family, have a remarkable Monday. Peace.
I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get up, get out, time to stand up, get loud, time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now, can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up, 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 I'm waking up.